The 11th of October 2023. You're very welcome back to Real True Education, not fake news, on the kitchen table here, not in my own studio. And here's an article. This is an article here, and it's Tesla electric car catches fire after hitting a truck in Moscow. This is 4 years ago, but the footage can be got there. There's no point me wasting your time. It hit a truck and it caught fire, and that's the bottom line. Now we see too in the mirror on the Luton thing, it's supposed to be a diesel car. So straight away they move in to say it's a diesel car. But the one thing we know for sure, it says here, Luton Airport, diesel car named as cause of blaze that destroyed 1,200 vehicles. Now, I don't care what anybody says, diesel cars do not burn that way at all. If a diesel car caught fire, it would not set the whole place alight. It takes lithium ion, which is one of the most hottest, best burning fuels on the planet, to do that. So they're on about all what it done and what it expected, but they are out to tell lies, and that's the bottom line. Now, so like here is the flames. Is anybody telling me that this is diesel cars? That is the typical fire flame from electric vehicles. And even if it were started by a diesel car, why did it spread in that way and do so much intense heat? It's over 400 degrees centigrade, the flame that's out of them, and I will be doing tests on that. Now I'm just going to show you here on TikTok a brief footage of an electric car that went on fire in apparently the UK. We'll just play it to you anyway and you'll get a look at it now. Just look at it there. Look at that. That is a typical electric car. Right. I'll play you that again. And this time I'll try and get it bigger if I can. So here it is. There it is. That's not a diesel car. Now, the cars at Luton Airport, there had to be some of them built with that. There had to be some of them. And one of the things about it is, the witnesses said, they exploded. They actually burst completely. So we'll hear all the commentators on now and all of this, but you can bet your sweet life it'll be quietly hidden. Now, be aware. One of the tricks they're using is to say that the car was powered by a petrol engine or the car was powered by a diesel engine. That does not tell you if it was a hybrid. So if it's a hybrid, it can be powered by either of those two. So you want to watch for that. Listen to the language of what's said. It was a diesel powered car, and if that's the case, well, at least if they have to lie, they have to completely lie. But if they can say it was a car with a diesel engine, like the one in Newbridge was, well then if that's what it was, we'll never know. It's completely hidden. But if that's what it was, what's going to happen is they're going to say that, and you need to know the difference in a diesel engine car and a full diesel powered car. It had no electric battery. They won't say that. This is their spin. The big question is, why are there liars everywhere? Why is the whole world in on this? Sometimes the truth comes out, but hopefully we'll see some of the news media in Britain, like GB News or someone else, actually do a full inquiry into this. It should be possible to speak to people who are there, to speak to people who park their cars there, and to find out at least something about it. It should be possible. Now, except where you have a big fire scene, it's not that easy to get the location of it. It's not that easy. But in any event, this also has ramifications for electric scooters and that in flats in Ireland too. Now, just one little point an engineer pointed out to me. If you take your mobile phone, like this phone here, this little phone, if you take this little phone here, the battery has a huge area. If it gets to heat, it can get away. And the laptop computer, the battery too, is isolated on its own. Electric cars, they're packed in together, the cells. So if one goes on fire, there's nowhere for the heat to get out. That's the difference in the batteries of electric phones, electric laptops, tablets and all that. They're just on their own. And when they go to heat, they can smolder. They can go on fire. But when it's in a battery pack with a whole lot of cells all packed together and number 132 goes on fire, it's going to build up heat and it's going to spread to the rest. That's a point from an engineer, just to let you know that they can't make the batteries in the size available. They can't isolate the cells. It's not practical. It's not practical at all. Now elsewhere, if you want to Google it, Hyundai electric cars, 736 million worldwide recall, 750 million of a recall. And what's wrong with those particular models of Hyundai is the two posts of the cathode and anode, the same as the negative and positive of a battery. Instead of keeping them insulated, they left them almost together with just a little bit of insulation, and that insulation is breaking down, and once they short, the entire battery is shorted. Imagine the idiots that did that. Imagine the idiots that did that. So all of those has to be recalled. The batteries have to be taken out. There's the damage to the environment making those batteries, collecting all the minerals in the mines and on the earth, and with young labour and everything else, and they're all dumped. I mean, how many gallons of petrol or diesel would you have to burn to do so much damage? 736 million. Mitsubishi the Kona. It's a model of a car called the Kona. So they have to recall these. There it is there, the Hyundai Kona. They have to recall these models. 82,000 of them. 82,000 of them. Because they couldn't make the batteries right, and that's the fact of the matter. So why are they recalling them if the greedy lefties tell us, oh no, electric cars are grand, oh they're lovely, they give us no trouble? They are giving trouble. They're a complete and utter risk, and they're dangerous, and there's going to be somebody killed because someday these are going to go on fire in a ferry. You can imagine the fire in Luton taking place on a car ferry. And let me emphasize, nobody denies if a petrol or diesel car goes on fire, it's usually the electrics. By right, if the wire is taken off the battery, they can't go on fire. Now, the fire services can go in there, the fumes are not as bad, they can spray them with water, and they can put them out and localize the fire. That's gone on for decades and decades. With the electric car, water does not have any effect. Water doesn't put it out, you have to let it burn out. There are desperate toxic fumes, which means it's dangerous for firefighters to go in near it. That is a huge difference. I would walk right up beside an ordinary car, especially before the tires are caught. When the tires burn right, there are toxic fumes. But you can still be around them and that. Whereas the electric car, it's a 400-degree minimal centigrade temperature with toxic fumes of a type that will definitely kill people, and they're extremely dangerous. So how the insurance industry deals with this now. Now the government and the media will lie, but how can the insurances lie? If the insurance companies have to cover Luton, I mean, unbelievable amount of damage. So keep an eye on it, folks. Google it yourself and spread the word round to people. Let the big fellas and the big companies buy their electric cars as their spare car or their toy. Don't be taken in by it. Has a television, it has a computer, you can buy things online. That's not what you buy a car for. You buy a car to get you about comfortably. The big question for all those says all these trick of the loops and trims, can it keep you warm on a long journey? Well, the answer is no. In cold weather, the battery will drain, the heater will drain the battery. The heater will drain the battery, and the lights will drain the battery. Everything comes out of the battery. Okay, another horror story there of the 12-volt battery, which is also fitted in them for the general things like electric windows and all that. And some of those have failed and locked people inside in the cars, and they couldn't get out. It's well worth people's while to Google, to YouTube, to Rumble and all these other places, and just look at the stuff that's online. Now this is the McMaster channel. Here he is. I'll just give you a glimpse, and he's well worth looking at it. But his findings are identical to my findings. He has put it through its paces. So now that everyone knows this, the job is to get the message out there to counter the Irish crooked government's campaign to get us to move to these, to produce buyer resistance, to warn people before they go of the costs and the whole disaster that these are, and in that way to hopefully change people from supporting the Greens and the other parties like Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael that try to shove this down our throat in breach of the Strategic Environmental Assessment Directive 20142 EC. There was a debate in the Dáil on the budget yesterday. There's 158 TDs. They did raise a bit of a stink about the price of fuel, the price of electricity. There's a carbon tax increase. The Minister Ryan's answer to that was, well, we're given a rebate. So he's putting a tax on one side, and he's going to create relief. And you see the parallels with communism. He wants to get spending everything. But here is an industry that's on the SEA directive. The European Court of Justice has ruled it's illegal in the case of 2419, and there's 2 cases pending. And not one of the 158, not one mentioned the SEA directive, and will never. And this is the point I can't understand. Wouldn't you think 1 or 2 TDs would say this? What about the SEA directive? You're breaking the law. They won't do it. And the only little pointer I have on that is one independent TD told me that they wouldn't support me on that because it could affect forestry, and their vote was coming from farmers who were planting trees and things. But it is unbelievable that there's no TD in the city of Cork, the city of Dublin, or anywhere else that will simply say, Minister, can I ask you, have you complied with the Strategic Environmental Assessment Directive on any of this? Article 3 do. And ask him and get his reply. We know in the case of the Friends of Environment, of the Irish Environment case, that the response of the government is that it's a budgetary matter. That is baloney. That is not what the directive is meant to do at all. If that were the case, you wouldn't have to comply with any directive on the basis that you're putting money into it. So in the same as if you're opening a quarry, you could say, well, I'm using money to do this, therefore I don't have to do any assessments. This is the ridiculous nature. But this is the big point. How can 158 TDs and 60 senators all refuse point blank to get Ireland to comply with its obligations under the treaties of the Lisbon Treaty and the treaties of the foundation of the European Union? This is the 6-mark question that I can't answer, and I don't know. You'd think there'd be a leak somewhere. You'd think somewhere there'd be a leak. So we let you go, or there'd be someone to say it, if you know what I mean. Folks, anyway, that's the story with electric cars. We're winning slowly. And the great thing about Luton is no one is seriously injured. So I'm trying to get this stopped before the life is lost. I don't know will I succeed, but sure, we can try, and that's the decent thing to do. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and please comment underneath.